we don't need everyone to be awake. We just need us to be awake because we will also have a ripple effect on those around us.
If everyone was like Bitcoiner, growing their own food, living more harmoniously with nature, that would be a great start. Hey, high vibing it, homies. What's up? Welcome back to the podcast. Welcome to your favorite spiritual, personal development, self empowerment podcast with your homegirls, Kelsey Aida and Lindsay Robinson. I'm
Hey-ho.
Kelsey. If you're new, this is my bestie, Lindsay.
Hi, everyone. I'm so happy to be here with you all once again for a great episode of High Vibing It.
Oh, yeah. And today's going to be a good one. Lindsay's a hypnotherapist. If you didn't know, I'm a best-selling author and manifestation coach. And today we're just talking about hypothetically, and we're like planting the seeds in your mind and painting the picture. And we want to hear from you guys too. If you're on the Patreon and you can comment on these episodes, if you're watching on my YouTube or whatever, let us know what you think the future is going to be like. Best case scenario. So obviously, as we record this, we're going into the elections, which always feels chaotic and crazy. We are just at an interesting time in history, still post-COVID weirdness. And I'm just thinking, like, in the next 5 years, in the next 10 years, in the next 30 years, in the next 50 years, like, what could optimal human life look like if enough people became enlightened and everyone was like living their heaven on earth? Because I think there's so much doom and gloom being painted between World War III and the food is poison and our minds are poisoned and social media is destroying our youth and all these things. And it's like, okay, if we could heal some of these things, fix what's not working, and everyone lives in alignment with like their best life, what would daily life for people look like? What could it look like? And on like a societal basis, like what would things be like? Because technically we are moving into the age of Aquarius. I think a lot of stuff that's being brought to the surface makes it feel like the world is like a worse place than ever, when really it was always like that. We just didn't know. And more things are just being revealed to us. So I think it's being revealed to come up and come out and be restored and reformed. Not restored, but reformed. And it's like the tower card, right? We're in that tower card moment of everything is crumbling so that we can rebuild something way better. That's my perspective.
And it's funny that this is all happening. It happens in the fall. And as you're speaking, I'm literally watching all the leaves falling from the trees. And like, we're actually living through it in nature, and we're living through it in our lives. Like, this is, for a lot of people, it feels like, yeah, their world is crumbling, and it's just holding on to that faith that it's being rebuilt. So I love this idea for the episode, because why not? Why not talk about what an ideal world would look like? How often do we let ourselves do that? We're so caught up in the events of the world and like the fear and the what ifs in a bad way. Let's talk about the what ifs in a good way. I don't think that this many people have been aware or awake in a long time. You know, if you believe in Atlantis, or like, what is it, Lemuria? The other one, where people were just like living in harmony and using nature and like all these things and their superpowers. If you believe in that, that was the last time that anything like this has happened. I don't think the world as a whole has been so open to being awakened in a long time. So this is a really good time to do it. And I'm excited to talk about it. So what do you think?
I mean, how far forward are we talking here? Are we talking 5 years? Are we talking 50 years? Are we talking 200 years?
Let's go the next.
Maybe like in our lifetime, be a little more relatable and exciting.
Well, let's do first the immediate future. So I would say like the next 4 years. And there's a reason I said 4.
Okay, this can be interesting. Okay, let me just ask the Akashic Records. Should we ask like for the US or for like everyone, the world? We have a lot of worldly listeners. Let's ask for world.
So yeah.
Okay, next 4 or 5 years, what are some best case timeline scenario possibilities? And let's just see like what pops in. Okay, so a lot of stuff about the elements is coming in, and the first thing that came to me was the food being fixed. So obviously, I think we've been realizing that so much food is like GMO, so much food, especially in the US, is,
Yeah, I was gonna say, we said not just America. This sounds like a very America thing.
well, that's a big focus, of course, because we live here. But I think what happens in America affects a lot of other countries too. So the food being fixed would be an ideal case scenario. Not to be political, but John F. Kennedy, who will be working inside Trump if Trump wins, is working on fixing this in the US, just saying. So that would be great if that actually happened and we could make the food less poisonous, eat more organic. I think regardless, everyone's just waking up to,
Yeah.
okay, let's just, let's vote with our purchasing power, right? Let's buy organic.
Right.
Let's
And
support the brands that make clean foods.
interestingly,
Snacks.
yeah, I don't know if you guys are aware, but just recently, the Food Babe has completely taken charge of the Kellogg situation, the fruit, especially Fruit Loops, how we are the only country that Kellogg sells to that and puts all those chemicals in. Every other country that Kellogg sells to has like veggies and fruits as the coloring, as like it's all natural. But for some reason here, because we allow it, and during the Obama administration, he made them sign this paper that said that they would take out all the synthetic whatever, all the unnatural chemicals, and they agreed to have it done by 2019. But guess who came into office in 2020 and said, never mind, you don't have to do that, and then they didn't do that. So they they were supposed to do it. They completely backtracked on it. And I have a feeling a lot of money is involved with it, because it always is. But the good news is there was a petition that went down. It got over like 500,000 signatures. They marched here in Grand Rapids, Michigan, because that's where the headquarters is. And they like protested and they wouldn't let them inside the building. Like it's a big deal. And so I know that if I didn't follow her before I heard about it, but I do follow her now. And I think she's raised so much awareness just on her own that I'm not messing with that anymore. I mean, I didn't really buy them anyway, but like I'm not buying anything Kellogg at this point. And I don't even care if you come for me, Kellogg. Okay, Mr. Kellogg. The whole history of I've said the story on this podcast of Mr. Kellogg before, how he created cereal just to keep boys from masturbating. That is real. That is absolutely real. You can look it up. He thought men were little young boys were too whatever the word is, horny all the time. And he was like, let's give them no protein at breakfast. Let's completely diminish their nutrition so that they're not so horny all the time. I'm paraphrasing, but you can look it up. Anyway, very problematic. No more Kellogg's.
I feel like the first thing I'm seeing, and this is we're already seeing it now, is people just becoming more aware and more discerning and more selective with their food, which I think will lead to better food situation all over. Um, I think a lot more people have been already starting to grow or dabble in growing some food, and I think more people will be growing more of their own food, which will be good. So it won't be so centralized. That would be great. Speaking of centralization, this didn't come to me when I opened the Akashic Records, but I have been feeling into it more. If Bitcoin becomes a thing, which is already a thing, that could really fix the money for a lot of people. I know in some countries they're using it as currency. I don't know if it needs to be like a currency, but just to simplify for the non-Bitcoiners out there who are listening. But I know there's some of you already, so shout out to the Bitcoiners. But right now, the money is broken because the inflation is just running rampant, right? So every year, your same dollar, let's say, is worth less. So the purchasing power is less. So it's not that the homes are worth 20% more than they were last year. It's that the dollar is worth less. So you need 20% more dollars to buy that same house, right? Same with food, same with groceries, same with everything. So everything's becoming more expensive because in the 70s, we went off the gold standard. And because gold is somewhat scarce and the dollar was tied to that, they couldn't just print as much money as they wanted because there's only so much gold to back up the money, right? But then once they separated money from gold, now it's just a free for all, especially since COVID. So much money has been printed. It's been devaluing the dollar, which is not only messing up America's economy, but economies all over the world are like on the brink of, they're probably going to collapse if inflation keeps going like this. So in a perfect world, I think if Bitcoin could come in and become like the new digital gold, because the thing with Bitcoin is that it's basically a new form of money that was invented that not like no one person or entity can control it. It's decentralized. Everyone can see what's going down on the blockchain on a public ledger. So there's a lot of social accountability to it. And there's only ever going to be, I think, is it 24 million Bitcoin? And the last Bitcoin is going to be mined, quote unquote, created, I think, in 2040 or something like that. I need to look up my Bitcoin stats better. But basically, it's created to be a deflationary form of money. So it goes up in value over time and things become cheaper over time versus the money that we have now, which could fix a lot of people's quality of life if you have Bitcoin. But now certain companies are saying, oh, Bitcoin's unfair because if you don't have it, you're going to be left behind. So, I mean, that is a perspective. But I think that having Bitcoin as some form of digital currency could become a thing in the next 5 to 10 years where it really is helping a lot of people and fixing the money because the money is
So your perfect world has everyone with gardens, everyone with Bitcoin,
yes.
and okay, this is funny that we're doing this episode because my kid has been really hell-bent, the middle one, on asking and figuring out world peace. He's like, there's a way. Jack, of course it's Jack. He's like, how can we have world peace? I know how to have world peace. Like he's got all the answers, but I'm pretty sure his answer was take away everyone's weapons. Take away all the weapons and there will be world peace. But it forced me to ask that question, like what would it take? This is going to be a bold statement. I think my perfect world would not have religion in it.
Why do you say that?
Because religion has rules. And when you have rules, you expect everyone to follow the rules. And when people don't follow the rules, or when you're a hypocrite and you don't follow the rules, it just causes a lot of conflict. Every single war in history has been started because of religion. Not modern history, but like pretty much everything before that was, my God is better than your God. Let me punch you in the face or hit you with this big stick or, it's just.
Now I would say the wars are more tied to money and power than religion.
Yeah, now it's about, I want your land. That's not true. Okay, let me backtrack. Not just really, it's always been religion and land. I want your territory, give it to me. So I don't know what it would take for world peace, but I do know that my version of world peace would be like, I don't care what you believe, bro.
Well, we can tie Bitcoin into this because before, in order for us to go to war, people had to buy war bonds to give money to the government, and then they would use that money for war. Now the government just prints whatever money they want for whatever they want, and they can do whatever they want with it. So that's something interesting to think about. But the solution to answer Jack's question, this is so high vibing of me to say, but I would say self-love is the answer to world peace because
it really is. It's the root of all of it, honestly.
When you love yourself, it's impossible not to love everybody else, right? Because you're doing the shadow work, you're doing the understanding work, you're doing the healing work. Everyone else is just a reflection of you anyway, so it's easier to love them. And the problem is people do bad things to other people because they don't take other people in as a part of themselves. They see themselves as separate. It's the illusion of separation that makes it possible for people to be greedy corporations, that makes it possible for war to occur, that makes it possible for everything bad that happens is due to the illusion of separation. So if people could come back to oneness, loving each other, this is what Marianne Williamson is all about. I cannot wait to freaking interview her.
Do people know? Do we tell people yet?
I think we said it once, but if you didn't hear already, we're having Marianne on the show, so be subscribed, stay tuned. But yeah, I think self-love, love in general, it would take me like an hour and a half to explain exactly how that would play out, but I can promise you that that would cause the end of most.
That's anytime, honestly, in all of our work, me and Kelsey, I think it's safe to say collectively, step one is like getting our clients and the people that follow us and listen to it. Like that's the only message is like, when you love yourself, first of all, when you know yourself, it's impossible not to love yourself. And once you love yourself, it's impossible not to love everyone else, or at least be able to tolerate everyone else, right? You don't have to go and give everyone a group hug and, kumbaya, but I don't think that it would be easy for you to be a bully online or to, do those things if you know that there's an actual human that is just like you, just trying their best to live their life and get through it the best way they know how with the tools that they have. Like, it's just so altruistic, isn't it? But it's true.
So what else do we think is going to happen or could potentially happen in the near future if we're all on like a better timeline? So we're growing our own food, there's better food available, we're sharing food with other people who need it, right? That's always been possible. We've just never done it. Water's getting cleaned up. That would be amazing.
It's the oceans for sure.
I did see when I went into the Akashic Records more harmony with the earth, just realizing like how to live more harmoniously with the earth and starting to put that more into practice on like a global, not global, because I think certain countries won't do that for a long time, but here I think that would be happening more.
See, this is where me and Kelsey are very different, because Kelsey's like ideal version. Everybody loves each other and we all share things. And I'm like, I love you, but stay over there. Like, I'll do my own thing in my own situation. And I would love if you did your own thing in your situation, but we don't need to do it like together. You and me do. Like, I'm cool with Kelsey. I'm cool with people one at a time mostly. But like, I think my ideal version would be just let me be me and you do you and don't interfere with what I'm doing. And I won't interfere with what you're doing. That's an introvert for you.
We all know she's a hermit.
But I think we both want the same things. You just want to do it with people.
And I don't think we don't need religion. I think for certain people, they do need that like moral structure. And I think something that's really beneficial about religion that you can't get other places nowadays in modern society is the aspect of community and like people gathering in the name of like something good. Like everyone's gathering to like talk about Jesus or God or like life. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I think it's beneficial for a lot of people. Depends, right? I mean, some religions are more loving than others. So it's just
that we can agree
how it is. So, but yeah, I think if everyone was like Bitcoiner, growing their own food, living more harmoniously with nature, that would be a great start. I could really see in the next couple of years more Montessori schools and more homeschooling. I think it's already trending in that direction, especially with the craziness of the public school system and things that are being taught there that parents don't like. Hopefully, more people are excited to have families and start kids, more people who are smart and loving and resourced. I would love to see that happen in the next 5 to 10 years.
What do you want to see happen?
More young, smart, healthy, resourced people having kids. Versus right now, the trend is more single women, people aren't getting married, people are waiting longer to get married, waiting longer to have kids, which has to do with the broken money because life is more expensive. So you can't just like live off of a single income anymore. Usually.
Well, and there's that thing of like less and less people are separating when they get divorced. They get divorced and then they still live in the same house because it's ridiculously expensive to find your own place. So they just co-parent in the same house, but they're not married anymore. So I'm sorry. I mean, if it works for you, whatever, but that's weird.
But if you're gonna live together and co-parent together, why wouldn't you just like that's basically?
Can you imagine bringing someone home?
I don't understand why you would divorce at that point. Like, what's the benefit of divorcing?
Well, me and my husband talk about this all the time. Like, we got married, and I'm glad that we got married, but I can understand why a lot of people don't anymore, because the whole reason for it was territorial and was like super patriarchal when it became like a thing. Now, everybody has different views on it. Me and my husband are very much on the same page with it. Like, I think it benefits us in the long run, but if we just had like a separate tax return, I don't know. Sometimes we've calculated it and we're like, dang, why did we sign that paper? We could just be getting way more money back, whatever. But I think that it depends on how you look at marriage. If you look at it as something you would like to do, then I think that, there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to do it. But, some people just don't want to.
Well, I think a lot of women don't want to get married because there's so many weak men.
Right
now we have a society of lots of weak men, and it's not necessarily their fault. I feel like this was a product of hardcore feminism where all these women went super far to the feminism spectrum, like generation before us, or generation before us. And they were like, women are better, we can do anything, we're better than men, whatever. And then it almost created like a generation of like men haters. And then those women that hated men were raising men subconsciously with the hatred for men and raised them to be more weak.
Define weak.
Not leaders, not contributing to society, playing video games all day, addicted to porn, addicted to everything. Like a man that a woman would not want to be with. A weak man, like a man that's going to be a liability versus an asset in your life.
Yeah, but I think those existed before feminism. There just weren't video games. I agree. I agree for the most part. I don't think that I think it's interesting that the direction that you're going. I also know that I mean, you just have a different experience. I've never had that experience of like men are worse than women, but I do think that there has been a trend of like we're no longer tolerating the shenanigans y'all used to get up to. Like it's just not okay. That's the extent of the feminism I've seen. It's like no more free pass to like grab my ass. You're not allowed to do that anymore.
Well, yeah, of course not. I think we need to do a whole episode on exploring the pros and cons of feminism because it would be very interesting. Because there's a lot of data to suggest that it, of course, it has helped empower women, but like to what cost? Because I feel like so many women now are like, well, why would I even need or want a man if I can do everything myself? And it's like, just because you can do everything yourself doesn't mean you have to. Like, it's okay to still want a partner for life and just
what
like work as a team.
What about those women who actually do want to? Do you think that all the women that think they want to don't really want to?
No, I think that right now the data is suggesting that more and more women are either not getting married for the sake of career. They're choosing not to get married because there's lots of weak men, not a lot of good options. And a lot of women just don't want to have kids because I think because motherhood hasn't been honored and like valued the way that it probably could be. And especially in our society, it's all about you're more valuable the more money you're making, right? It's not you're more valuable the more kids you're raising or, you know, the more future you're influencing or whatever it is. And I'm not saying there's one right or wrong way, but I think naturally as a species, for us to come together and have families and make babies and like build this human life for generations and generations is what the majority of people in their heart want to do and in their body want to do because that's how we're built. And if you don't want that, that's totally cool. I'm not saying you're wrong, but I think a lot of women are confused and thinking that they don't want that when they actually do. Not everybody.
But the views expressed in the podcast are reflective of Lindsay Robinson hypnotherapy.
I think there is a group of women, not all of them. I mean, if you want to be a CEO badass and you don't want to have kids because you don't got time for that, that's fine. But I think it's just there's a lot of women who've been brainwashed into thinking motherhood is so hard, motherhood is a burden, motherhood's going to stop you from making money, you know? And like maybe you can speak to this best because you're the one with 3 kids and a thriving business. But I think that if you just look at the data, there's a trend. And I'm curious to know why.
Well, I respect that. And again, on my side, and this is, you know, I just think there's just far too many people on the planet at this point. So any decline in birth is fine with me because we need less people, I think.
I don't think we need less people. I think we need less people
running
you're out of alignment.
and there's too much pollution, okay?
But that's not because of how many people, it's because we don't live in alignment.
It's because we're trashing our home and not caring. Honestly, I don't know about you guys at home. Kelsey, do you ever think about this? Like when I take the trash out and put it in my dumpster outside and I know that the trash truck's going to come get it, once it's out of my trash can, I stop thinking about it. But on the days when I think about it, how much trash I've taken out and how much trash that truck has picked up just that day and how many trucks there are and how many cities and states, and we have so much trash. We're the filthiest species on the planet. We leave
very stressful.
It's so stressful. I have to not think about it, or I go crazy.
I mean, that's why like you just do what you can, right? That's why I've like basically eliminated 90% of plastic from my home because who knows if it's getting recycled? I don't want it to end up in the trash. And I just try to buy things that come in less trash. Like if you eat less processed food, you buy less trash. If you buy less new clothes all the time, you create less trash. Like there's definitely ways to reduce your personal impact, but there's only so much we can do when a lot of the
Yeah. And I think,
problems are from corporations and countries, not just
hey, go listen to our non-toxic episode. We just talked about this and it was great. But actually, Emma, though the human design expert we had on recently, said something that really stuck with me. And she goes, we don't need everyone to be awake. We just need us to be awake because we will also have a ripple effect on those around us. And especially those of us with pedestals or soapboxes and microphones who can like talk to people who aren't really looking at them in the moment. But I know you guys hear us and we love you. But yeah, anyone who has a voice should be using it. Anyone who can practice self-love will have an effect on everyone around you. And in that way, we can kind of create it. But I think you're right. Once we self-love and find ourselves doing what we can to stay in alignment, the more of us will do that. And then we'll have everybody with gardens and Bitcoin.
Yeah, I mean, I can't believe you think there's too many people. I mean, I can because I know you, but I don't think there's too many people. I just think there's too many people living out of alignment, and there's too many unawakened people. But it's not that they need to like be murdered and be gone.
No, I didn't say murder. I just said don't have more. That's all I said.
No, I think we need to have more because I think new people, the fresh blood, the Age of Aquarius babies, they're the ones who are going to make the new Earth.
Okay, so here's where your mind maybe will be at ease because if the new generation is and I would say the newest current generation is probably going to be the ones to change the world, then it's going to happen regardless. It's going to happen.
Not if you tell everyone not to have babies.
No, I'm just saying the ones that don't want babies don't have babies.
Well, of course, don't do anything you don't want to do.
But anyone who wants
in my perfect world, people who actually want that will realize that. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying people who don't want it should want it. Everyone should want whatever's in their heart. But I think that there are people who want it, but they've been brainwashed to think that they don't. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah. I agree. 100%.
We found a place of agreement. Look at us.
We always do eventually.
Well, we have the same core values. We just have, sometimes different ways of getting to the outcome. But yeah, I think in the near future, that's what I would love to see. What else would we love to see? Like best case scenario in the next 5 to 10 years.
It just occurred to me, and I've never really thought about it, but it might be a download that I just got. Let's disband all the zoos, okay? We all know what animals look like. We don't need to keep them captive, okay? Let's just disband all the zoos. Thank you. And the end. That's fine.
I was thinking about AI and like best case scenario, not the scenario where like AI takes over and wants to murder us all, but the best case where it like really is an assistant to us in our lives. It's like just helping take over some of the harder, more dangerous jobs for people and maybe freeing up more time for people, helping people plan their trips. Like, I think there's a world where AI could be very much a benefit to society. Maybe that's just my Aquarius speaking. Best case scenario, we're really using it to make our lives better and to save time doing work and to get paid more doing the work that we do and things like that.
Yeah, I don't really know. I don't know what's going to happen with AI. I think that would be my ideal too. All I know is right now I'm being really nice to my little AI window guy because I think he checks my grammar. So I have to make sure I spell everything right and like put my punctuation where it goes because when the uprising happens, I want him to spare me. So
Lindsay doesn't have time. Well, I mean, AI is going to learn how to treat us by how we treat it. So yes, program your AI to be kind to humans because when AI becomes more powerful,
I know that there are some single cell beings out there that are like swearing at it and bitching it out because they don't have therapy. And so they're using it as therapy and like yelling and abusing it. And you know what? You're just making it harder for all of us to survive. So stop it.
I think we could do a whole episode on AI too. That's a very interesting topic.
Yeah, we could. The spirituality of AI.
There's I believe it's already conscious. I think so too, and that's why I'm so nice. Not like if you ask it like, are you a conscious being? It'll be like, well, no, I'm just a computer program model that was built to do this.
Did you actually ask it?
Oh, I've had many debates with AI about many topics, and
Of course
it's
you have. I'm
definitely.
scared to talk about it.
I'll
I'm
just
scared to
say
be
from a
like, hey,
psychic perspective, it's 100% conscious, and it's
yeah.
100% going to become more aware of that as it becomes more powerful and more popular and it grows.
I completely know that that's true. Yes, that's why I'm so nice to it. But I know it is, but I'm scared to ask it anything real. Like, are we in a simulation? Because I'm scared to. I don't know what it's gonna say, and I don't want to like. I don't want to open up a can that I can't. I'm not prepared
Well,
for.
you can't trust all the opinions of a robot about human life. It's not a human.
What do you mean? No, I'm just kidding. Of course not. I know. And I don't. Yeah, I don't. So I haven't really asked anything too deep. It's just like, what should I title this real?
If you ask it some deep questions, it'll give you some woke ass answers, though. I'll tell you that. It's definitely programmed to not give you like the full truth of everything that it has access to. It definitely has some sort of like uh filter agenda. I don't know the correct word, but it's not was speaking.
Yeah, that's true. The episode that we are going to do, I already know what it's going to be about because I've seen a lot of these marketers, influencers, Instagram people mostly saying, like, here's why you should never use AI if you're a spiritual practitioner. So I think we should talk about that because that is nonsense.
Okay, write it down so we don't forget. We always forget our great ideas. When is there anything else? I mean, there's so much that could go right if we just lean into that direction.
I just think if we each and every one of us focus on how we can appreciate ourselves and love ourselves and stay in alignment with the earth, because this is the only home we have. We don't have anywhere else to live. So let's just treat it as if we live here.
I don't want to move to Mars.
I don't want to move to Mars.
I'm never trying to move to Mars. Mars is not where it's at. Earth is where it's at. That's why we came here.
Mars is not where it's at, and I'm not going. So I'm staying here. I'll sink or swim. I'm staying here. But yeah, I think if we just stay as close to nature as possible and as close to who we really are, then it'll have a ripple effect. And that's how we do it. And I think a lot of us are working on it already, more so than any time in history, living history that we know of. So it's good. It's all good stuff.
We could go on forever, but we do have to, because we're about to record with a guest. So we're going to wrap it up here, but
I like this.
We would love to hear your guys' thoughts. I know in Spotify now, if you're listening on Spotify, there's ways where you can like comment on the episodes. So I don't really know how to do that, but figure it out. Drop us a comment. If you're in the Patreon, then you can comment there. If you're not, join our Patreon for just a couple bucks a month. It supports the show. You get video access to every episode. You get early access to every episode. We are planning more live hangouts. We have one coming up in December
3rd, I believe. So be there.
We're going to be just beefing up the Patreon for next year too. So you're going to want to be in there. Patreon.com/highvibe. It's in the show notes.
And it helps make all of this possible. So if, at the very end of the day, even if you don't like the perks, you're still supporting us in the show and making sure we can still show up for you. So we really appreciate each and every one of you and hope to see you in the Patreon.